Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Go Big or Go Home. I am the sick old man, joined by the wonderful youngster, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. That didn't sound so good as an introduction. Makes me sound like some kind of real sicko.
I wouldn't call yourself a sicko. I think other people might assume that you're something other than, just coughing and wheezing. I think calling yourself a sicko is a little worse than that. But, yeah, you're a sicko in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I was telling you. You had the little sore throat last week. I got the cold. I got the summer cold, and it sucks. Feels like somebody punched me in the nose, somebody stepping on my chest, my throat hurts. I'm going to try to make it through the show without coughing. If I do that, then it'll be like I won the lottery. Because I've been coughing and sneezing all day. So we'll see if I can do it. Just like last week, if you're joining the Big Ten show to hear about Big Ten news, you can just click off now. Just adios, goodbye. So what the youngster and I are going to do today is World Cup recap. You got me on day one, youngster, but then I kind of made up for it on day two. So
I meant to ask you, Troy. I meant to ask you, too. Did you get your marriage license today, by the way?
No.
No, you didn't. Oh, that's weird, because I did. I did, yeah. So I figured I did today. So I figured that must have meant that you did as well. But
no, well, it was my anniversary on Saturday, so it's pretty close. I mean,
okay.
It's pretty close. No, I already got one of those things tucked away somewhere in one of those memorabilia books somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
My wife probably knows where it is. But like I was saying, youngster, you got me on day one, but I kind of redeemed myself on day two. So I'll let you go over the results, and you can let the fans know who we picked. Take it away.
Yeah, I forgot to pull up who we picked here. I know I got 3 of the 4 correct. I think, let's see here. Okay. So Uruguay played France. Starting on the left side, I said going into this round of 8, the quarterfinal round, that I would take any team from the left to beat any team on the right in the final. And we obviously, don't know that now, if that's going to be true or not. But by next week, I think we should know. But so Uruguay played France. I had France. You had a little doubt in France, Troy, and France beat Uruguay, who you thought would make it all the way to the final and then lose. France did beat Uruguay. Let's see here. What was that one? 2-0. And then also on the left side, Brazil played Belgium. I went with Belgium, but Brazil is highly skilled, just like Belgium is. But I said since day one that Belgium would be my team, so I was going to stick with them. And Belgium actually won that game 2-1. They were up 2-0 fairly early. An own goal in like the 8th minute or something kicked that one off, unfortunately for Brazil. And then Belgium had a monster strike from Kevin De Bruyne, who is one of my favorite players to watch. That was cool to see. And then to have Belgium advance, I was happy about that one. But so on the left-hand side, you got France and Belgium playing in the semifinals, going up against the winner of the right side, which Russia played Croatia. And here's where I started to have a little downfall here. I had Russia beating Croatia. You had Croatia beating Russia. That's exactly what happened, is Croatia beat Russia. Let's see, what was the score of that one? Let me find that one. Oh, it was in penalty kicks. Penalty kicks can go anyway once it gets to penalty kicks. And we talked on last week's show about, especially on from your perspective, Troy, playing and coaching soccer at a high level, what does a match ending in penalty kicks really do for you? Does it piss you off? Does it, is it satisfying to get it over with? Do you think it's fair? We talked about that on last week's episode. It kind of came to a little bit of agreement there. But Croatia ended up beating Russia to move on, and then Sweden played England. And at this point, we both had England moving on, and they did beat Sweden. What was that one? That was 2-0. So England and Croatia are on the right side, and France and Belgium are on the left side. I'll still take any team on the left side to win. I have Belgium winning the whole thing. You've got England winning the whole thing. But I'm curious your thoughts, France and Belgium. I know going into last round you didn't think extremely highly of France, and you mentioned that Belgium's really talented. So for me, I mean, I'll get my left-hand side done pretty easily here since, everyone knows by now I have Belgium winning the whole thing. I'll have Belgium beating France. But to me, it's two highly skilled teams. I think France has a talented player at every level, whether it's at the goalkeeping level, whether it's defense, whether it's midfield, whether it's attacking, and especially attacking. Mbappe, who's 19 years old, has really shown himself to be, I think, one of the next big things in soccer, and he's at PSG right now. But he's a very fun attacker to watch on France. Belgium's got a bunch of fun attackers as well. It should be a highly competitive game with two good goalkeepers, but my guess is that both teams score, and you'll need at least 2 goals to win. That's my assumption anyway, on France and Belgium on the left side.
Yeah, I want to go back, and, I'll tell you, I even text you, I changed my pick on DraftKings the day of the Uruguay game. If you remember, I texted you. It's because Cavani was out, and to me, he's the catalyst of that team. And for him not to play put a lot of doubt in my mind. So in my DraftKings, I actually picked that game right. But on this show, I did pick Uruguay to advance. So it is what it is. But I'll tell you, that was a big loss for them, and I really believe that was one of those injuries that probably cost them a game. And for those that follow football, it's like Tom Brady going out, it's like Big Ben going out, it's like Aaron Rodgers going out. You can put a backup in that is supposed to be pretty good, but you can't replace the level of talent of that player. And that's what Uruguay lost when they had that injury. So that was a big loss for them playing that game against France. And I truly believe, they still could have lost, but I think that game would have been a lot different had he played. So I just wanted to throw that out there in that game, but I really like Uruguay and the way they played. This game now, Belgium and France, I think Belgium's going to win. I said this from the beginning, Kevin. Belgium reminds me a little bit of Germany, the way that they play, as far as the way that they flow and move up and down the field. And I think they're playing good soccer. So I think they're going to take care of France. And they'll be in the final. And you know what, England, I just watched England play, and they play with such confidence right now. They're so good in the back. And you know what? I said I wasn't high on Pickford. He made one save in that game, Kevin, and it was a good save. The only thing is I hope that in the next game against Croatia that he doesn't have one of his brain farts, because that's what I find with Pickford. He can play like an all-world goalie, like he did against Sweden. He made that great save. It was an awesome save. But then in the next game, he can turn around and just have a flopper. So I hope that doesn't happen. Now, Croatia against Russia, I don't even think it should have got the penalty kicks, Kevin. I was not able to watch the game, but I was following it via the live feed where I was watching it as it would come up on the internet. And all of a sudden, with like 20 minutes to go, these teams are substituting. Russia and Croatia, they're making defensive substitutions. At that point, I'm going, what are you, you're playing for extra time? You're playing for penalty kicks? And I don't want to bring it up, and I don't want to say there's a conspiracy going on to try and have Russia advance, but I know it's been put out there. I know people on the internet have said it. But it's like, why are you taking out your best goal scorers right now, Croatia? Why? Why are you putting in defensive substitution late in the game? And then they score in extra time, Kevin, let alone they score in extra time, which doesn't happen very often. They have the lead. And then they concede a goal with like 2 minutes left. How does that happen? How? I don't know how. So I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, but it just amazes me how Russia made it being a top 7 or the 70th ranked team all the way to the final 8. They were playing good, and they had an easy draw in their group. But, man, they almost beat Croatia. It took penalty kicks to do it. And, again, at that point, it's just which goalie is going to come up with a lucky save or which striker is going to hit the ball bad. So I think Croatia is 10 times better team than Russia, and it shouldn't have went to penalty kicks. When they scored in extra time, There's no way you concede a goal at that point. I know that's why they do the 30-minute extra time to give both teams a chance. But if I'm the team that scores, I don't pack it back. I've already told you that, Kevin. As a coach, you don't pack it back because that's how you lose. But you don't take extra chances. If you're a defender, don't worry about making a clean, crisp pass and threading the needle. If you have to, just clear the ball down the field and take time off the clock when you're in extra time, or send the ball 20 yards out of bounds. You don't need to be precise at that point when you're in the back playing. And when you're in the midfield, if you're in trouble, same thing. Knock the ball to the corner. Get the ball to the corner flag. Go down to the corner flag and take time off the clock. Don't try to be a hero when you're up 1-0, or it would have been 2-1 at that point, in extra time. You're up by a goal. Just get rid of the ball if you don't have a safe pass. And it looked like Croatia just panicked. It's like they didn't know how to play with a lead with 10 minutes to go. So, to me, I picked England to win this game. To me, that bodes well, because Croatia looked flustered in that extra time after they scored a goal. It's like, oh, my God, we're up. What do we do now? So that's my take there. And then England, I'll tell you what, Kevin, they're just playing well. So what are your take on the games?
Yeah, Germany played Sweden earlier in this tournament in group play, and that was one of those games where, and again, Troy obviously knows more soccer than I do. I'm not a regular viewer of soccer by any means, but I think that when I saw Germany play Sweden earlier in the group stage, and Sweden was up 11 men to 10, and they had a lead, and Germany was attacking at will because they needed points to try and advance, which they still didn't. But they were down a man, and they were down in score, and still the last 20 minutes of the game, Sweden was just hanging back, letting Germany just fire off shots, get a ton of opportunity, maintain possession throughout the basically entire last 20 minutes of the game. And eventually Germany hit, And so it's like you're up a man, you have the lead, you just need one more goal or just possess the ball. You have extra guys. And they just fell back and let Germany keep attacking, and eventually a team that skilled is going to do so. So that's what it reminds me of when you're talking about that, what happened in the last round. But again, France-Belgium, like I said, I think that you're going to need 2 goals to win that game. There are too many talented offensive threats on both teams, in my opinion. But Courtois played amazingly. Belgium's goalie against Brazil. Brazil controlled, I think, the first 20 to 30 minutes of the game, but Courtois was kind of standing on his head. They just kept feeding Neymar on the left side, and he would either shoot or create opportunities for other guys, and Courtois was making a bunch of saves. And then late in the game, Belgium kind of took over in the middle. Belgium had the early 1-0 lead, but again, that was an own goal. They scored another one, but, the middle portion of the game, Belgium kind of controlled it. But toward the end, as Brazil, again, down 2-0 in the second half, they're going to be firing on all cylinders in terms of just trying to get shots on goal. And they were. But, again, Courtois was playing amazing in net. And then France's goalie, Hugo Lloris, he's another good one. You mentioned England's goalie. And if he keeps playing well and he's a hot goalie and you can, then who knows? Obviously, you need defenders in front of you. It's like hockey. You can't have a bad defense and just have your goaltender save everything. Eventually, 1 or 2 are going to get through, and especially in soccer, that can be a killer for you. So it'll be interesting against Croatia. I think that Croatia's got some skilled talent. I think that England's more talented. I think Croatia's the least talented of these 4 teams. But I think that'll be a close game. I think Belgium-France should be a close game. As far as an overall prediction, like I said, to start, I think Belgium against England makes sense. I said that a couple weeks ago. But, Colombia was a tough opponent for England to get past. Sweden is not a doormat, and Croatia is not a doormat either. But in the grand scheme of things, Colombia, Sweden, Croatia, as opposed to playing teams like Portugal, Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, France, Uruguay, there's just so many powerhouses on the left side. I mean, Mexico is a quality team. Japan was playing like crap, but was up 2-0 on Belgium. I think that's the other thing. The last thing I want to mention really with Belgium is that they were down 2-0 to Japan in the round of 16, and they came back and won in regulation 3-2. So if they needed some adversity, if they needed to be reminded that, hey, you're really talented, but you're not just going to coast through to the final and win the whole thing, Japan showed them in round 1, in the round of 16, that's not the case. You still have to play well up to your potential, and that's what Belgium did in the second half of that game. That's what Belgium did for the majority of the game against Brazil. And again, their goalkeeper was playing really well. I still like Belgium going forward, and I still like England beating Croatia, and I still like Belgium to beat England. But your thought, let's see, let me make sure here. The semifinals are Tuesday and Wednesday this week. We're doing the show on a Monday, July 9th, but the World Cup finals on Sunday, so the next time we do this show, it'll all be concluded. So you see England playing Belgium like I do, Troy, but you have England winning? Maybe?
Yep, England's going to win. They're strong in the back, Kevin. And they got defense. Their defenders are they're defenders, but man, they can press the issue and they can run the flank. And that is the thing that gives teams problems when your outside backers can run the flank. And I was blessed to play at a very high level in high school with a good coach from St. Louis. And I played outside backer in high school, and we were expected to play the length of the field. And I loved it. I loved it. I had an opportunity to get up into the rush. I had an opportunity to make overlapping runs and cross a lot of balls. And I'll tell you what, when you're clicking, when that runs and you got guys that cover space, and that's what England does, it can make Pickford's day a lot easier. The problem you get is when those flankers make a run and they lose the ball and they're caught, and then the other team can counterattack. And Belgium can be very good in transition. As I said, they move and flow well as a team. So if they can counteract the flow of the flankers, and they can catch England in that rush by stealing the ball or getting a turnover and doing a fast counterattack, then you're going to put Pickford on an island. And then Belgium can just dominate that game. But I like the way England, if they can control the ball and control the flank, I think they can beat Belgium. So it'll be an interesting game in that final. It should be England versus Belgium. And since I picked that, it will probably now be France versus Croatia.
I don't know. It's weird to me to think that, and I'm bigger on France than you are, Troy, but I would not have expected France to make the final if they do. And if they did play Croatia, I'd favor France to win the whole thing. And Croatia is 2 games away from winning the whole thing. And Croatia, to me, coming into this tournament, probably like the, 12th best country in the world. I don't know what their betting chances were, but I can think off the top of my head a lot of more talented teams. Not that again, is exactly what translate over to wins, because it's not. You have to play as a team, especially on this kind of level where you're not with the same guys year-round playing season after season after season. You play some friendlies here and there. You play some basically play-in games to get into the World Cup every 4 years, and that's it. You don't have to worry about team chemistry, really. It's like the Olympics. I mean, does Anthony Davis worry about team chemistry with LeBron and Chris Paul and James Harden? No. It's just a bunch of talented guys on one team that eventually try to win something every 4 years. But for England, I like that you brought up the defenders. I think one defender that everyone knows of from England, at least if you follow soccer, if you're listening to this, Kyle Walker from Manchester City, is a very fast player in general, let alone as a defender. Ashley Young's another one, Manchester United. They've got a number of fast.
Well, and Maguire stepped up last game, Kevin. I mean, and you had Stones 2 games ago. It was against Panama. Not that that's a huge test, but if you look and you're talking about their defenders, each of them at any time can hurt you. And there's not a lot of teams that can say that. It's one of those things where if you're like, well, we're gonna try to neutralize Walker in the back. Okay, well then Trippier can come out of on the other side, or Stones can make a run, or McGuire can make the run. It's just they're so good in the back. And like I said though, Kevin, the big thing for Belgium is, can they create a turnover while those guys are making that rush? Because if they do, then you're going to have Belgium counterattack, and then at that point, that's where they're going to get their opportunities. But I think if they just try to play straight up, and try to control with small ball and short passing, it could work for Belgium because of their system. But I really think the way they win this game is on the counterattack, and it's got to be quick. Sometimes teams will win the ball back, Kevin, and they'll just try to control the ball and get into their style of play. And I've been a coach, and I've taught my kids this. When you see teams that push, and they push their flankers, if we win the ball, you want a fast counterattack. Try to get numbers and go quickly. And that's how you beat a team like England. You get that fast counterattack, because if the flanker's making the run and somebody hasn't covered that space, you get the ball back and you have that quick counterattack, bam, you got numbers. That's how you can beat England. And if Belgium can do that, and they have the talent to do it, they have the skill players to do that and create numbers. So if that's the way it comes, England versus Belgium, that's going to be one heck of a game. I really look forward to it.
Yeah, and Belgium's got one of those as well that jumps off to me. I've seen every Belgium game in this World Cup because, again, that's the team I was rolling with. A lot of guys that I know of, a lot of guys that I know are very talented and fun to watch. Meunier from PSG, another guy from PSG, is a defender that commonly comes up and helps on the attack. That's who kind of Brazil was targeting, so to say, but it was more Brazil just feeding Neymar. I think more than anything, I don't think they were attacking one player in Belgium's defense. It just so happened that Meunier's on that side with Neymar. But Meunier is another guy like Kyle Walker, especially, who loves to run and join the attack, and he's a very skilled player as a whole. He's not just a big, burly defender, not necessarily burly, but just not a typical defender who will sit back and has, not much in terms of an offensive skill set, whether it's passing, scoring, whatever. Meunier is another guy for Belgium, to look at, exactly like Kyle Walker, in my opinion. He's taller, I think. I know he's not as fast as Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's extremely fast, and you mentioned other guys as well that are very fast too for England. But I think it'll be a very entertaining final, like you said, Troy. Belgium also likes to control the ball as well. I don't think they necessarily need to score solely against England on the counter. I think that they're just fine playing possession and getting an open shot for any of their forwards whatsoever that they throw out there, or midfielders. They've got a number of them as well that can score. But should be a very entertaining final with a lot of skilled players. And even if Croatia's there, Croatia's got skilled players, so does France. But Belgium, England is my pick. That's your pick. We're going with different sides to win that, but regardless, it should be a very, very entertaining final. I've got nothing else to say about it, I guess, Troy.
Yeah, really nothing else to say. We're not gonna touch on a third place game, but they do play a third place game in the World Cup, Kevin. I don't know if people knew that. So the winners of the next two games advance to the final. The losers actually play in the third place game. It's that consolation prize. You get third place. You get the bronze medal, I guess. I guess you got to play another game. So, yeah, we were the third best team in the World Cup. I never understood that game, and I've played in tournaments, Kevin, where that actually the way they had a similar setup when I was coaching and when I was a player. And you got to be good sports about it, right? And so you got to go out, and I've played in those games. I've coached in those games. And I'll tell you what, as a coach, it's so hard to get your players motivated to play. Who wants to be the third best team? It is another game, so they play. But, you know, I remember one tournament that we went to, and my guys were disappointed we lost in the semifinal. And so we had a consolation game. And I could just see on their faces, and I was watching them warm up. And so I just pulled a fast one. I started all my bench players. I started all my bench guys. You know, the guys that were the substitutes that came off maybe played 10, 15 minutes in a game. Because in tournament games, when I coached the youth league and the under 16 and the under 14 team, a lot of times tournament games, Kevin, were only 30 minutes long. Or 30-minute halves. So 60 minutes instead of the regular 80 minutes that the youth games were. So I started my bench guys in this one tournament. And you know what the funny part is? And I know the other team probably wasn't motivated to play either, but my bench guys that got to start, and I didn't tell them until like 10 minutes before the game. Like in the middle of warm-ups, I'm like, this is just, my guys don't want to play. So I was just going around looking for who really has it in their eye that they want to go play. Started every single one of my bench players. I think we went on and won that game. It was like 6-0. But again, the other team too, Kevin, like I said, they're in the same boat. They lost their semifinal game. Did they really want to play in this consolation game? You know, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
So
no, I can get it at the World Cup level. I'm with you as well, though. To me, it's whatever. Especially at like the youth level, though, that's just it's almost stupid. Especially the Olympics, you obviously understand it for winning a legitimate bronze medal. That's something. But at the youth level, I mean, if I'm a 10-year-old kid playing basketball and you're playing a third-place game, it's like nobody cares.
Yeah,
Nobody's
and
giving it 100%, and you know.
The thing is, you get your third-place trophy. I mean, who wants to put a third-place trophy on the mantle? I mean, a second-place trophy, at least we lost in the championship game, right? But a third-place trophy, I mean, come on. It's just an extra game. And you know, Kevin, you played youth basketball in tournaments, and, you know, playing 4 or 5 games in 2 days, the kids are tired. So are you really getting your best game in a third-place game? I don't think so. But with that said, youngster, we're going to wrap up Go Big or Go Home. No Go Big today. Nothing on the Go Big.
I was going to say we'll leave it on a high note.
Yeah, we'll leave it on.
All right, see you guys.
Yep, and I didn't cough or sneeze during the whole show, so that is good. Next week, we will give you the final World Cup recap, and if anything happens in the world of college sports or the Big Ten, we'll definitely talk about it next week. Have a great week, everybody. For the youngster, I'm the old man. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at TroyRobert967, at KidCunny, and then our show handle at Youngster Old Man. Have a good day, everyone.